to the World Massage Conference.
Hello and welcome. I'm Melanie Hayden. I will be your host for this class with Diana Thompson, who is going to be talking to us today about the ethics of charting. If you're joining us for the live class, please remember to log into the chat room located just to the right of the broadcast screen. Put your name in there or feel free to log in with one of your social media IDs. As a full registrant, you have access to the quizzes for this class, so please remember to click the link and just review the questions before the class starts and then take the quiz right away to get your certificate of completion. Our instructor, Diana, will join us in the chat room for the live class to answer as many of your questions as possible. Just before we begin, I'd like to thank our sponsors. Thank you so much to our global sponsor, Massage Envy. Massage Envy is a community of caregivers committed to helping people feel their best. They believe that therapeutic massage and customized skincare are an integral part of the well-being journey. If you share this belief, they'd like to get to know you better. Learn more at massageenvy.com/careers to learn more. And thank you to our education partner, Associated Bodywork and Massage Professionals, provides an extensive array of member benefits and exceptional liability insurance. Visit abmp.com to discover why over 80,000 massage and bodywork professionals have chosen ABMP as their professional association. Thank you so much to our daily sponsors, Massage and Bodywork Magazine, Bon Vital, BioFreeze, and Massage Warehouse. The ethics of charting. Do you ever wonder if there are legal or ethical considerations for charting your massage sessions? Are there different considerations for online charting? What do I need to know about HIPAA and charting? Is SOAP charting mandatory or is it on its way out? Do you chart for billing but not for cash clients? What are the guidelines for charging more for billing? Is there anything wrong with using Groupon? Are there legal or ethical considerations for selling vitamins? Join Diana Thompson, author of Hands That Heal, Communication, Documentation, and Insurance Billing for Manual Therapists, and explore the ethics of charting. I'd like to introduce you to our fantastic instructor, Diana Thompson. She's been a massage therapist for over 30 years and practices in Seattle, treating acute and chronic pain disorders. Diana is a former president of the Massage Therapy Foundation and has received many awards, including the President's Award, AMTA Massage Therapist of the Year, One Concept, and Humanitarian of the Year from Performance Health. Her newest endeavor, Hands Heal Electronic Health Record, turns her book, Hands Heal, Communication, Documentation, and Insurance Billing for Manual Therapists into an online charting system. Diana also has a new book, Integrated Pain Management, Massage, Movement, and Mindfulness-Based Approaches, published in 2016. Diana, welcome back to the World Massage Conference. We always love having you with us. It's our 10th year, and I'm pretty sure you've been with us just about every year.
Thank you, Melanie, and I love to be with the World Massage Conference. So thank you for inviting me back once again. I will always say yes. And thanks for always being my moderator, because I've never met anyone as insightful in the questions that you ask and the prep that you do for these presentations. So it's really a pleasure to work with you again as well.
Oh, thanks, Diana. Yeah, we work hard to make sure that we're getting the best possible knowledge and wisdom for our massage therapist audience around the world, and that's why we love having you here, because your experience and expertise has grows all the time, because you're always learning, you're always doing something new, and you're always writing and creating and sharing that wisdom. So, yes, it's a mutually beneficial relationship, and just really appreciate your time always. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, should we talk about the ethics of charting? It's a very exciting topic for me, and not one that I get to talk about that often as a solo presentation. I always kind of stir it in with all of my presentations, because I think considering our principles and ethics is just one of those really important things as massage therapists, because we work in a profession and in an environment where our ethics really lead the way for us. It helps people feel comfortable being in a room behind closed doors, mostly undressed and being touched in ways that probably no one else touches them outside of their immediate family. So this is one of those critical topics for us, and probably why we're required to update our ethics so often. So thanks for joining me today. Of course, we have to start with a definition of ethics, and in researching this again, it's been several years since I've done it, but it's always good to take another look at what's out there. But what I was struck by was how there's a different definition of ethics for many scenarios. And so to find a definition really solely for healthcare providers was kind of striking to me. So I wanted to include that as well. So I think we know that this has a Greek origin and that it's really about values and how we behave in the world, and does that behavior affect other people in a negative way. So with the healthcare definition, it was, I'll just read it, the importance of empathetic relationships and compassion, which I think is very much in our DNA, right, that drives us to be massage therapists. So as long as we keep that in mind, that step that goes beyond do no harm, but not only do no harm, but to really have compassion for the people we work with, I think is very important. The other distinction that I thought was interesting was that it's more of a moral dilemma than an ethic of justice. And I will talk about a bit of the law versus ethics when we get into more of the business of massage therapy that still deals tangentially with charting. But for the most part, we'll look at the ethical issues with charting in particular. So just to give you a rundown of what we're going to talk about today, there are some general ethical dilemmas in regards to the expectations of clients and of the healthcare team. There's some issues around our scope of practice. Always, those are questions that we consider on a regular basis. In particular, I'm going to talk about breast massage and perineal massage, just in relationship to something we've been going through recently here in Washington State that I think might be a great example for us to consider internationally. And draping HIPAA is an American thing. It's the Healthcare Portability and Accountability Act. And there are considerations with that document that we are bound by that also have general global implications on our ethical practices that I want to discuss. And then, of course, there's that switch to online charting that we're all, if not doing already, really considering doing, because it is kind of what's happening out there right now. We're also going to look at rebating. What does that mean? And product sales and billing, and then how we can move more towards an ethical practice. So let's go. I think it's important for us to really develop our professional ethics and practices just to make sure that we're protecting, who we serve. So perhaps you've written your own code of ethics. It's a good practice to do. It might be something if you've got a group that you meet with, kind of a support group. I've been in a small support group of massage therapists where we meet sometimes monthly. I think more these days it's quarterly to really discuss issues, but this might be a good practice with that sort of group. I've been in a journal group where we discuss research. This might be a good practice to try, but really kind of lay out in front of you various codes of ethics of different organizations and take a look and see if you might handpick something that works for you and post that. I think it's nice to have that available in your office so that your clients really see your commitment to a code, something that you work by, live by. The other way that shows up is in your office policies. So we really want to establish office policies, and some of them are just simple regulations about maybe your late policy or your fee schedule, things like that. And have your client sign them, put them in their file so that you've got something there. Should something arise where there's a conflict, you could pull those out and remind your clients what they signed. But the most important thing is that you stick to them. And if you don't, that you have some sort of set procedures about how you might bend the rules a little bit so that people can be consistent. Because anytime you don't stick to a rule, people will push up against that. Not that you ever do that, I know. When you feel boundaries up around you, you respect them. But I remember, as a kid, when parents gave me rules, it was always important to push and see if they bend at all. Anyway, create your office policies and stick to them. I talked for just a second about a support group or a peer vision group. It's really common in psychotherapy practices to have a consultation group of sorts. It's really common in medical practices to do this around patients, to have a consultation group where medical providers can go and present their difficult cases and get support and feedback on how to move forward with them. And I don't think there's as much of that set up for us automatically. It would be really nice if we could be more supported as having a support group, if there was some structure around that. I know some organizations, associations have mentorship relationships available for people, which is really, really great. And I'll talk more about those later. But I think that type of support group is really important, and some place where we can hear someone else's professional ethics, and that helps us develop ours as well and adopt different practices and evaluate our own practices. So it's important for us to have other people give us feedback on our practices on a regular basis. I think having that fluidity to our business practices, and then once we make a change, to make sure we're communicating those changes to our staff, if we have staff, our clients for sure, so that they can support them as well. And not only do we want to establish a relationship with a supervision group or early on with a mentor, or maybe even throughout our practice with a mentor, the next step, of course, is to become a mentor ourselves and to offer our services to someone else who we might help develop and grow. I always notice, even in my classrooms, the youngest person in the class, and I mean youngest in terms of experience in the profession, they always seem to have the best nugget of wisdom to offer. So we will learn as a mentor as much as we teach as a mentor. So there are many different codes of ethics out there. I looked at several, and I thought that I picked the AMTA only because it was really distinctly different than the other ones, and was very detailed and had lots of different sections that kind of divided things up. So I wanted to share that with you, and it's not that it's better than anyone else's, and I'll talk about some of the other ones as well. It just really struck me as a good example for sharing with you some of the differences in codes of ethics. So there are two sections that they have to their code of ethics, includes the principles and the rules. So they divided it in between what do we want to aspire for, and what should absolutely be required of massage therapists. So rules and principles. ABMP writes theirs as pledges or commitments. So they have the commitment to high quality care, and commitment to do no harm, commitment to honest representation of qualifications, commitment to uphold the inherent worth of all providers, commitment to respect client dignity and basic rights, commitment to informed consent, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well, commitment to confidentiality, which goes right along with the HIPAA regulations that we'll talk about, commitment to personal and professional boundaries, commitment to honesty in business, and commitment to professionalism. So it's short but sweet. Each one has a nice descriptive paragraph to it. So it's very clear and easy to understand. And I think that makes a big difference in terms of helping you abide by them, the more clear it is. So then there's the Canadian provincial codes of ethics, and each province has its own. Ontario divides theirs by 5 general principles. One is duty to patients. The other is duty to society, duty to profession, and duty to oneself. So, and then there's up to, I think there's 34 individual statements under those 5. So another interesting way to do it. So you can see there's lots of options out there. And then there's the distinction between the code of ethics and the standards of practice. So not everyone separates ethics and standards. ABMP does not. The Canadian Health Professions Act does not. It's all in one. The Australian Code of Ethics does separate their code of ethics and their standards of practice. And they also differentiate between that and their sexual misconduct section. So really, I find it very interesting if that's something that you'd like to do sometime, just to go through those and take a peek. The Australian document is the most extensive that I've seen. It goes really in depth into defining and describing each section. The standards of practice, just to give you another example and what the difference is, this might help define the difference between ethics and the standards of practice. So these are really defined to help you be a better practitioner. So it's about safe and consistent care, quality of care. It also is about getting all massage therapists that are members of that organization to develop a common base so that there's some level of expectation when our clients are looking for a massage therapist. It's nice to know that there's some basic practice quality and experience that they can have with each massage therapist. So if that's really a goal, then it's important for us to read and understand our code of ethics and standards of practice. So if it's been a while and you're a member of some organization, really pull those out and have them available and actually read them on occasion, because I think that's a viable and valuable goal for an organization to have, that they can have a certain level of expectation of their massage therapist. We also want to support and preserve the basic rights of the clients and the massage therapist. So it's as much for helping you and protecting you as it is protecting the clients. So it's, I think, goes beyond what we often think of. So when we talk about the ethics of charting for massage therapists, often one of the biggest considerations is, well, I shouldn't have to chart for massage therapy because I am not billing insurance, for example. And to me, that brings up the question of, well, is massage healthcare? Like, do we want to consider ourselves part of the healthcare community? In which case, I don't know any other healthcare profession that does not chart their sessions. Interesting. So if you think about it that way, let's really look and see what the answer to this question might be. Is massage healthcare? So see if you can answer that for yourself, and I'll tell you what your clients think. So your clients think it is. And if we think about health and wellness as a physical, emotional, spiritual, mental combination, then yes, absolutely. I would say that massage therapy does impact our physical well-being, our emotional well-being, our spiritual well-being, our mental well-being. So all of that together really speaks to health and wellness for me. And if we consider that massage therapy is preventative, like we're really helping people have a more solid basis for health, then perhaps they won't be as susceptible to illness and injury. For example, I spend a lot of time working with the older adult population, and one of my primary goals is to help them maintain their balance. Because if they have good balance, they won't fall. And if I can prevent falls in the older adults, then they're less likely to have a debilitating injury. the statistics on recovery from broken hips, for example, are very discouraging. It is kind of the beginning of the end in terms of an accident. Many older adults do not recover well when they fall and break their hip. Similar to pneumonia. When an older adult gets pneumonia, that's one of those illnesses that are just really difficult to recover from. So I look at the AMTA consumer surveys, and ABMP does a really nice consumer survey as well. I think AMTA asks a few more questions about massage as healthcare. So I like to draw from that statistical base, and they have asked these questions for many, many years now. So we've got some good ongoing statistical results to compare to see what kind of growth there has been in the profession regarding massage and healthcare. So a surprising number of our clients agree that massage therapy should be a part of healthcare and that massage therapy is effective for reducing pain and is beneficial for overall health and wellness. So even if you think massage isn't healthcare, your clients do. So it really is our clients that are driving the integration of massage into healthcare. I think we often think about stress reduction as a benefit of massage therapy. And we have thought that massage therapy reduces ulcers, but it doesn't really create ulcers, but it does contribute to making ulcers worse. But it's got so many other issues. When you get stressed, all these other things go up. And I don't think, at least I haven't really thought about stress as contributing to so many different things. Personally, I've experienced it with diabetes. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I can always tell that when I get anxious or stressed, that my glucose levels go up. And so I've felt that one. But who knew that stress contributed to brain lesions with Alzheimer's? Really unbelievable. Or that one of the best things you might, well, I shouldn't say that one of the best things, but that you could contribute to losing weight by decreasing your levels of stress. So it's really remarkable how many ways stress eats away at our health and wellness, and really how great of a service we provide to our clients with massage therapy. So let's look at some of the other perspectives on massage and integrative healthcare. So I don't know if you know this, but the word CAM, complementary and alternative medicine, is now out. So if we want to stay hip to the terms and acronyms used in healthcare these days, it's now, I don't know how you would say that, SICK? That's kind of weird. But it's complementary and integrative healthcare is the term now. So first we want to get rid of the alternative part. So even the National Institute of Health regards massage as healthcare, not as alternative healthcare, but as a part of healthcare. It's really fantastic. So alternative is something that's outside of the conventional healthcare realm. And we are now inside because of our integration into hospitals and medical clinics and our rise in the number and level of research that's being done on massage therapy. So I think we have the Massage Therapy Foundation to thank for that. And so it's nice to know that we are considered a part of healthcare by the largest institution of healthcare research that's out there. So it's really nice to know from the research that that our clients seek massage therapy to improve their health and well-being, but also to balance the side effects of conventional treatment. Isn't that interesting? So really great that we're considered something that can help them deal with the biomedical care that they get. And that the consumers of massage therapy are well educated. A lot of them come from a higher income, and that their range is 30 to 60 years old. So it's not that it's a fringe thing. It's not that it's a younger population that's using massage therapy, but it's really a lot of the baby boomers are part of what drives massage therapy into integrative healthcare. Massage therapy is currently the number 2 practitioner-based integrative healthcare practice and number 4 of massage and body work. So I want to show you a couple of slides of statistics around that. The number 1 reason that people seek integrative healthcare is back pain, and neck pain is way below that. So it's really our back pain that drives people to seek something other than conventional healthcare. So maybe it's a bigger problem overall. Maybe they're just dissatisfied with conventional healthcare, and they're seeking us for that. Here are the trends in mind-body practices. So you'll see that massage therapy has had a little bit of an up and down. We were hugely popular in the 2007 survey, but that's right about when the financial crisis hit. And so I have a feeling that yoga rose above massage therapy because they could go in groups. So a group experience with yoga is much less costly than an individual one-on-one session of massage therapy. And finances became a consideration during that time. It'll also be interesting to see what happens in this year's survey. So they do the survey every 5 years. So there's one being done this year. We won't see the results of it for a couple of years, but I'll be tracking that, and I will let you know as soon as it comes out in my next presentation. So what I find also very interesting is how low acupuncture is on this list. So the use has remained fairly consistent, between 1 and 2% of the population of the United States. So this is a U.S. survey. And yet it is the major headline of news when the news breaks with these statistical results. Rarely do they talk about massage therapy in a headline, even though you can see how high up on the scale we are. It's always, acupuncture increased in use from 1.6% to 1.9%. I remember that headline, and it's like, well, massage went from 5% use to 8.3% use, and that was not a headline. Oh my gosh. Anyway, you can see, I show you these slides because it's really important to understand that we are viewed as a part of healthcare, that massage and healthcare integration has happened on a global level. It's a very international progression for us to be in there, and there's even an organization called the Consortium, the Academic Consortium of Integrative Medicine and Healthcare, that is made up of educational institutions of medical students. So it is a medical school association, and it started out with a small group like Harvard and Stanford and Duke got together and said, look, integrative healthcare is happening. We should get ahead of this wave and make sure that we're preparing our medical students to provide the best care possible when they get out and are in practice. So they created this organization. There's now over 40 medical schools across the country and medical clinics, integrative healthcare clinics, and they learn about us, about what we do, about how to refer to us, about when to refer to us, and they have defined integrative healthcare in such a way that I think is important for us to pay attention to. So it's really about patient-centered care, which of course is core to what we do. And it's about how good our evidence is, that they need the evidence to support the possibility of referring to us. So we need to be committed to supporting our research foundation, for example, and making sure that we chart in such a way that we can contribute data to the evidence base, the database of information about massage therapy. I used that as a primary driver in creating my electronic health record. It's been a part of every edition of the Hands-Healed book that I've written, the importance of measurable outcomes and using measurement tools in our practices. The difficulty in combining data across healthcare practices, massage therapy practices in particular, is that we may not be using the same scales. And it makes it really hard for us to combine data. So in the electronic health record, I've created 3 scales that everybody will use, and created a system that can mine that data and leave out all the private health information so that we can be collecting information on massage therapy. What are the most common reasons people seek massage therapy? What are the most common areas of pain? And how effective is massage therapy pre and post session and over time? Now, if we're a part of a healthcare team, how do we talk to them? And really the only answer to that is through our charts, because we rarely get included in consultations. In my years of practice, so I have been practicing over 35 years, and once I was invited to participate in a consultation. I know, isn't that crazy? So we don't often work on site. We're not paid by salary by these medical clinics or hospitals all the time. So it puts the onus on us to show up on our own time. And I think that makes it less attractive for us to want to go and participate in these rounds. So it's really best for us to communicate via our chart notes. There is an expectation to receive reports. So members of the healthcare team, especially when they refer to us, they want to hear back from us. It shouldn't be an empty referral. And we definitely don't want to send them our chart notes if they're handwritten. It's just kind of rude. So we have to type them up, and we have to type them up in a way that gives them structure and makes it easy for the referring healthcare provider to get the information that they need out of it. So I think if I asked you, the group as a whole, if you write reports and send them on a regular basis, that I think we'd be pushing it if I say half of you write reports. So if you're using electronic health records, this step becomes pretty darn easy because, well, I'll show you just how beautiful that can be. So this is a simple session note. So you've got your scales. There's 0 to 10 scales on stress, pain, and activity level. The client gets to type in what they want to have represent the number that they've placed in that scale. There's an opportunity for them to share with us any updates in their health status. So before they come in, they fill out these scales and give us a heads up on any changes that might have happened. Your treatment notes get printed up in a very nice way so that it's well organized. It's got nice section headers. It's understandable. It doesn't really use a SOAP format, although every one of these categories could easily be put into a SOAP format. But once you go electronic, you've got a better opportunity to use your words and have things go faster. And and then you've got your post-session scales that people can fill out. So this makes it a lot easier to send them your chart note. And then if you wanted to type up a report, you can write an actual report summary into the document. So it will pull out all the major information. It will show them the graph of their stress, pain, and activity over time because the system automatically populates those graphs. And then all you do is spend a little bit of time writing that report summary, and you can send that off. Well, are there laws? I've kind of been talking about the ethical aspect of charting because we're considered healthcare providers and because your client considers you a healthcare provider. But really, are there legal implications about charting? And one thing that I hear often in my charting classes is, well, I do this because I'm required in my insurance contract. So when you go to become a preferred provider, you get credentialed by an insurance company. And in that contract, there's a stipulation to document your healthcare sessions. But that's the only place that I am required to chart. So why would I chart anywhere else? In fact, there's a big debate going on right now. Should I be charting my event massage, my chair massage at sporting events or music festivals, that kind of thing? And, well, let's look at that. Did you know that there are no laws that tell physicians to chart their treatment sessions? Not one. You will not find one law across the United States anyway. I should have looked into it in Canada because I know there are some laws about charting in Canada for massage therapists, regulations they're called. But there are none in the United States. There's no laws for nurses requiring them to chart in the United States. It is very rare that there are laws about charting and what content should be included in a chart for healthcare providers across the board. Now, that said, there are tons and tons and tons, federal, state, and provincial laws and regulations that oversee your charting retention and disclosure. So they're assuming that you're charting. They're really looking at this as it is up to your education and your association standards, professional standards, codes of ethics to dictate your charting. But the federal and provincial governments are going to tell you how you keep your charts and how you let other people see those charts. So there are a few states, that said, there are a few states and there are some provincial regulations regarding charting. And that usually happens only when those professions are found not to be ethical or practicing their professional standards. Isn't that interesting? So there are some laws in different states for chiropractors, for example, for psychotherapists, for example, and for massage therapists, for example. So let's look at some different standards of practice that have some regulations on charting. So the AMTA, okay, I admit this is the real reason why I started showing you AMTA, Codes of Ethics and Standards of Practice, because they have this. So there is actually a standard of practice in the AMTA Code of Ethics that says the practitioner establishes and maintains appropriate client records, and that the practitioner establishes and maintains client financial accounts that follow acceptable accounting practices. So, and those can go hand in hand. So a lot of people maintain their client financial records within their healthcare record. In Canada, the regulation states the content of the health record. So it goes even a step further, that it should be comprehensive, they should use medical terminology, and practice evidence-informed healthcare, as well as prepare reports for other healthcare providers or members of the healthcare team. And it speaks to the confidentiality, disclosure, and access to charts. In Washington State, you can see we're being, our hands are being slapped a little bit here. There's a huge use of massage therapy in healthcare in Washington State. I think we have one of the more advanced states in regards to healthcare use for massage therapy. We've had a non-discrimination clause since 1998. So insurance companies have been forced to include massage therapy, and when that happens, at least in one of their plans. So every health insurance policy, every health insurance company has to offer at least one policy or plan that includes all healthcare providers licensed that are operating within their scope of practice. So it's made it very easy for massage therapists to develop an insurance billing practice in Washington State. So that said, there was a huge discrepancy in how massage therapists were charting, that they were only doing it for, many were only doing it for insurance billing purposes and not with their other massage clients. And the other thing that really drove this was there were complaints to the state for massage therapists that were really conducting legitimate practices. They weren't necessarily just using massage therapy license as a way to perform sex or have illegitimate practices. So the state of Washington was really trying to advance the profession in such a way to protect the public. Hence, a whole new bunch of rules that I'll share with you today, because I think they bring up a lot of ethical concerns for us. Anyway, this is one. And what I really like about this opening paragraph is that it says documentation should be appropriate to the venue, the type and complexity of those services, and with enough detail to support ongoing care. So if the client is not coming back for ongoing care, it's going to be a completely different scenario. For example, with a sports massage event, they're just there for the one time. We don't need a full chart created for that patient. So it really wants to take into consideration the various venues that we might be providing massage therapy. But we want the client's name and some form of contact information. If something should come up, if there's an Ebola breakout in the medical tent of the sporting event and they need to contact all of the people that received massage therapy that day or any services in that medical tent, we need to be able to get a hold of them. So hence, not only just the client name, but some form of contact information. Then there's the health history. So we need just enough to let us know if massage is contraindicated or if there's a cautionary condition that we need to watch out for in providing the massage therapy. We need the date that the therapy is provided, the duration of the session, the techniques and modalities, the location that the massage was applied, and a written consent to treat. So these are just the minimums. That's what everyone needs for every type of situation. It could be as simple as relaxation massage and full body, and the name, phone number, and date, and duration with a consent. So it doesn't have to be extensive. You don't have to name every technique, effleurage, petrissage, friction, whatever. You can just say relaxation massage, sports massage, something that gives the general picture of the type of service provided. Now, if the massage is provided for health conditions, there's more information that's needed to be charted. So I think it's easy for us to really understand why. We need to know what they're coming in with, what's our evaluation and findings, what changes as a result of the session, and is there a plan for future care? What do we need to know for the future? So what do the clients expect when they come to us? I think it's fair to consider this from their perspective. I think the most important thing they want is to have a relationship with their massage therapist. It's such an intimate experience, And I think that's why we're so good at patient-centered care and why physicians are really feeling the push to have better client relationships, to really include their clients or patients in their considerations about treatment, and involve them in self-care. So I was at a nurses conference one time, and the physicians just started showing up. They're like, they like you so much. We want to figure out what you're doing so they like us too. And now they're looking to us as well. So we're really pushing the biomedical healthcare profession to be better. And good job. Thanks for that. I think clients also care about the health record, that they want to make sure that they're getting not only the best care, but really the safest care. And we think massage therapy does no harm, but there are some research papers out there on adverse effects of massage. It is pretty darn safe. Bruising is the most common side effect of massage therapy, and there are some neurological problems with causing a pinched nerve. You know, we think we're relieving pinched nerves, but sometimes we're causing pinched nerves. So be careful and make sure you've got a good health record. But they also want some sense of historical documentation, that they can look back in a year and figure something out, like when was the last time I had a headache since I was started seeing you, or why is it that every spring I get a rotator cuff flare up, and you can go back to your records. We spend more time with our clients than any other healthcare provider, more often. And so we have, I think, a better opportunity to understand their whole health picture and to record it. So it's ethical for us to have a good, complete health record historically for our clients. It's also important that we understand why they're there. So what is it they really want to get out of massage, and to track that and their progress. And because for the most part they're paying out of pocket for massage therapy, we need to be able to demonstrate the value of massage therapy, because they're choosing to give you their money and prioritize you, and they've got lots of other things that they need to be responsible for in their household. So demonstrate the value for them and help support self-care. Teach them how to massage themselves, teach them how to take care of themselves. We want them to be well in between sessions. I can promise you it rarely keeps them away from our table, that they still want someone else to be able to give them these things, and we're only as good as our referrals and our self-care education. So just as an overview, why chart from the ethics perspective? From the client's perspective, there's a professionalism issue. I think when they walk in and you pull out a piece of paper or pull up your computer and start taking notes, that it's similar enough to other healthcare providers that they feel at ease. When you start doing range of motion testing, some form of asking them for measurable outcomes, I think that also helps them feel like you're committed to progress as a result of your session. Safety. They want to know that you're always going to remember that that left arm hurts when you raise it beyond 95 degrees, or that they've got that spot on their foot that when you press it too hard, it sends pain through their body, and so they want to know that you're never going to do that in that session, and you might forget when you're seeing a lot of clients day after day between sessions. So it also, I think, helps them stay educated, be educated, stay educated, understand what we're doing for them. The healthcare team cares about you charting because of liabilities. They are responsible for any referral that they send you. If the client is damaged, injured in some way, and they want to file a malpractice suit against you as a massage therapist, which happens, unfortunately, they can also sue the doctor. So if you don't communicate with the doctor is not going to feel safe sending you referrals. There's got to be a give and take of information for them to be willing to take that liability for you. We've got, like I said, that extensive ability to record the content, the history of that patient. And it really helps with continuity of care. That's a big issue these days with the Affordable Care Act, which now could become just about anything. And continuity of care really helps keep down healthcare costs. From the practitioner point of view, it's important for you to chart what you did and what you didn't do so that you can validate that you were responsible about contraindications and cautions, and that you're monitoring that with each client. So that's just so important and helps establish trust with other healthcare providers. And it can really attract more referrals from other types of healthcare providers when you're charting, that you're demonstrating safety, professionalism, and effectiveness. It's also essential for your own liability. We all have malpractice insurance, and if it isn't written down, it didn't happen. So you've got to be able to demonstrate what you did and also what you didn't do, so that you can stay covered with your own liability insurance. And it's a great form of education for yourself. When you look at charts over time, you might even compare charts. Like, I've got 5 motor vehicle accidents and something keeps happening around this one condition, maybe in the jaw. Like, I never noticed all the jaw issues before. Let's go back and look at the charts. Maybe there's something I can learn from this. So your charts help you stay educated as well. So we want to track progress with measurable outcomes. If you are billing insurance, they're going to ask for progress measures before they continue care. Like, they might stop that benefit. They can easily at any time, even if the doctor says that the treatment is medically necessary, they can cut off care. And we don't want that to happen. So we want to make sure that we can continue care until the patient's needs are met, client's needs are met, and we can't do that without demonstrating progress measures. And we want to contribute to the research, as I said before, not only to our own personal education, but to the profession as a whole. It's important that we be able to mine the data from all of us. There are so many massage therapists. I know some numbers extend into the 300,000s in the United States alone. And if you can imagine that even half of those have some data that we can mine and contribute to research, we'll have some amazing statistics to offer about massage therapy and And then who knows what could happen to this profession. It's a really great thing. So I wanted to just show you what that looks like in an electronic health record in terms of consistent data collection. So here's the stress scale, pain scale, and activity scale, and here's how it self-populates a graph. So pretty amazing that just by putting information into a database, you don't have to do any of that except have the client move the dot on the bar before they come in, and you get this amazing graphed data to look at over time, pre and post session. It's possible to send out a link to the patient portal, and then they can fill in the information before they even step foot into your office, or when they come in, you might have a front desk person hand them a tablet, and they can fill it in before they get in the room with you, or you can go through it with them. Once they get into the room, I think the motivating factor here really is spending less time doing data entry during a session than hands-on time, more hands-on time. So having them do it in advance is really attractive to the client and to you. You know, I couldn't find a stress scale anywhere, and I know that it's not in our scope of practice to treat the mental well-being of a client, but I think it's really important to get some sense of how their healthcare impacts their stress level. And so I kind of made it up, but I think it works. What do you think? Just to do a 0 to 10. And it's not like we have to chart what we did in our treatment session notes around stress, but we can just watch how it changes as a result of our care. Now, treatment planning has been just sort of mentioned so far, but I think it's really important for us to think about this idea of continuity of care and how we do that, not only across professions within the healthcare team, but within our own practice. So how do we plan for each session, and how do we plan ahead? This is often required by insurance companies. They want to have some sense of how you develop your treatment plan. So I came up with this chart, and it just helps you think about it. You don't have to have the chart, have a chart like this in your session note, but it's a good practice for us to think about how we develop a treatment plan. Pardon me. So we really want to gather the patient information in a way that helps us identify what we want to accomplish in the session and what we want to accomplish between sessions. So that helps us decide what techniques and modalities to use, how often to see someone, how long to make the sessions, and then what kind of self-care strategies we want to give our client to perform in between sessions. So you probably do this in your head, maybe in a less structured way, but I think if we think about this from a structured standpoint, it'll become a better organized practice for us, even if we still do it in our head. So I just wanted you to see this. Maybe you can download it and spend a little time with it. We're not going to spend a lot of time with it today. So there's also this issue of doing our charts in a timely fashion and then making sure those charts are secure So I just wanted to show you one more feature of an electronic chart that I think is really important. So one is that the date automatically shows up when you open a chart and that you can't alter that date. So whenever you create the chart, that's the date that shows up. This really prevents you from creating the chart after the fact, like days, weeks, years after the fact, which unfortunately has happened. That's incredibly unethical. And even before, like I was talking to a massage therapist the other day, and he was saying that when he goes to work, that there's a massage therapist who creates all the patient records before the patients even come in. That's kind of unethical, besides being bizarre. So we want a feature where the date is locked in there. We also want to be able to make sure that our data is locked. So as we're working on a chart, we can either save the complete later or we can lock it in the moment. If we skip it or lock it, we can't go back to it. There's no way to make changes once that happens. So if there's something that needs to be changed later, you'll have to put it in the comment section of the next chart, referring back to the previous chart. Or you can create a document and attach it to the patient's file. So that's another way to do it. So don't be worried that you can't fix a mistake or that a patient, which is within their rights, can't modify something that's in the chart, or at least have their perspective placed into the chart. So that can happen. It just can't happen in the previously locked and completed chart. I think the skip feature is really important with the pre and post measures, because if someone's pretty healthy, you're not going to want to have those filled out every single session. It just doesn't make sense. It's not appropriate, and it's not applicable to that client. And so some of those you might want to have the graphs done monthly or every 6 sessions, maybe quarterly, annually, something like that, in which case you can have them fill it out as an update or an evaluation session, but skip them in between sessions. I also think the post-session information is kind of tough. Immediately after, you're not going to get a good assessment of the improvement that you've made in their activity level. You can always get a sense of, can they dress themselves easier, if that's a limitation of activity, and then you can get good post-session information. But you can have clients fill it out the next day. They can go online to their patient portal and complete it. And if the client forgets to do it, you can just skip it. And then that way you've got a complete session, but you're not using that information. And as you could see, then these things generate their own reports pretty darn easily. From a safety perspective, you've always got your health history and health information available every time you open the client charts. You can see previous scale information down below under session history. You can get a sense of your effectiveness over time, if the stress is going down, pain is going down, activity is going up. It's sometimes harder with the ups and downs of treatment massage, but you will get some general sense of how they're doing. So let's talk about HIPAA for a few minutes. It is a U.S. law, and there are a lot of massage therapists who think, well, I don't transmit private health information electronically, so I don't need to follow HIPAA rules. It doesn't apply to me. So I want to talk about that just for a minute because I think there's some parts of HIPAA that apply globally to all of us, and that is regarding confidentiality. Confidentiality is something that ethically, and you heard me mention it with the ABMP Code of Ethics, confidentiality is absolutely an ethical consideration. We do not want to be sharing client information in any sort of situation where other people can hear it and their confidentiality is compromised. So with your paper files, you want to make sure that your files are locked. With your computer, you want to make sure you log off often and that it's password protected. If you're having conversations with other healthcare providers or in your consultation groups, you want to make sure those conversations are private. If you carry your files back and forth to different sites, you want to make sure you never leave them alone and that they're in a locked container that you bring with you, and that when you're treating their friends and family, that you don't just talk about what the other person said in the session because you think they already know. Or it's just easy, I think, when you're treating your own friends and family to forget what was said on the table and what was said on the telephone the night before, for example. So make sure that you're really clear about your confidentiality in regards to every single patient, client that you see. Access is really important regardless of your being bound by HIPAA regulations. Transparency is critical. Your patient has every right to see their chart. That everything you write in that chart is discoverable, and that anyone that requests copies of that chart, that it's important for you to record the date requested, why it was requested, and the date that you sent it. So regardless, it's very important that you keep their confidentiality and access. With electronic health records, there's an additional need for security because of the cloud storage. So you need to make sure that you're using a system that has a really secure cloud storage, that it's not I don't know if you've ever tried to get cloud storage with Google, for example. Is it Google? I don't remember who else does it, but I know that Microsoft did it for a while, that Apple does it. Anyway, there are different levels of security, and you would want the highest level of security. So the company that I use to create my EHR works for the Pentagon. So we have the same level of security as the Pentagon has. Kind of cool. And some of the other things that I've just mentioned, password and log off often. Sometimes you can walk away and somebody just hits a key and the screen comes right back up again. So make sure that you log off and close your computer so that they get your blank screen with asking for the password anytime somebody else might walk by or refresh your computer screen. And if you're sharing a tablet, for example, in the waiting room, that you make sure one client logs off before another one gets the tablet, and that if you've got a patient portal, make sure that you've locked the data before they have access to their file. My system doesn't allow patients or clients to make any changes in the file, whether it's locked or not, but not all systems might do that. So make sure that that's something that you do just to protect yourself. And whether it's paper files or otherwise, you want to make sure that you're not leaving a stack of files in the room, that if you've got your filing cabinet in the room, that you always lock it and take the key with you when you leave the room. You really want to prevent clients from having access to any other file. So we've talked about timely charting just a little bit. One of the issues that has come up in Washington State is about non-timely charting, and so Washington put in a 24-hour rule into their new charting regulations. So really, is it 24 hours that constitutes a timely, 1 week, 1 year? There have been case examples of charts that have been completed too long after. I know of a massage therapist who lost their job, and there was a suit between the massage therapist and the company, and the reason for letting her go was because her charting wasn't timely. And that was the excuse given. That wasn't really what was going on, but you leave yourself open to that being one of the issues, whether it's a federal lawsuit, a state lawsuit, or a company lawsuit. So there are examples out there where it's an issue. So I think really making sure that you're doing your charting in a timely fashion is important. Charting what you did do and what you did not do is also really important. So if the patient lets you know that they've got a problem, for example, pitted edema in their ankles, and you know that you can't treat that area or distal to it, then you want to make sure that you say you did not do foot massage, that you did not massage that lower leg, and that can be just as important as the other. So you really want to protect yourself and the client in that one. Scope of practice. So this is kind of the last biggie that I really want to spend some time with you about. Some scopes of practice talk extensively about the do not touch areas. Some simply say the genitals. Our rules go into detail and really list everything that cannot be touched, naming every part of the genitalia. And you want to make sure that you know what your rules are in your scope of practice and abide by them. And yet, sometimes breast and perineum is a part of that. And it's also really important that we have that scope available to us. There's plenty of issues with pelvic floor problems, with mastectomies, with breast enhancement surgeries, with pregnancy and postpartum issues around lactation, where we want to be able to provide breast massage or perineal massage. And we want to make sure that our scope is broad enough for that, but it's also safe enough for the client. So one of the things that we've done in Washington State that I highly recommend that you practice regardless of whether or not it's a law for you, it's really an ethical thing, and that is to have a separate informed and written consent to touch the breast. So often we get complaints, unfortunately, about people thinking that they're just confused, really. Like, why is it that someone is touching my glutes? Why is it that someone is touching my breasts? We didn't talk about breast massage, but you're thinking, oh, I'm doing pec massage and I'm doing armpit work, and everyone undrapes the glutes to massage the glutes. You know, you've been doing it for so long, you did it all through school, and yet you get someone who's never been touched there by a stranger before, and they're really going to question and maybe even get tense during the massage for that area. And they might be so relaxed during the massage that when it happens, it's almost like it's too late. It's like, oh my God, what's happening? How do I stop this? Is this really okay? And then they go home and talk to someone else about it. And they're like, I can't believe you let them do that. And that's when complaints get filed against a legitimate massage therapist. So we want to make sure that we are talking about all these things. So we've got an additional written consent for breast massage. We've got an additional consent form if breast massage includes the nipples and areolae, which are really critical with post-pregnancy or postnatal massage if there are problems there. If there's a reconstruction of the breast and there's lots of scar tissue around a nipple reattachment or replacement, and we want to really document any time we modify the draping to do these types of things, as well as the therapeutic intent for doing this type of massage. So in regards to perineal massage, I think Rolfers in particular are very well trained to do that. And any massage therapists that are doing pelvic floor stuff. So I know I was first trained to do it with polarity therapy. So it might not be something that's familiar with you, but there it is. So I think having consent to receive massage therapy is really important, but I also think we need that additional consent to be able to undrape the glutes, for example, and perform massage directly on the gluteal muscles. So fee splitting is an issue. There's a federal law regarding fee splitting, and it's called the Federal Anti-Kickback Law. So this is really about splitting profits between healthcare providers in exchange for referrals or healthcare services. It started with the drug companies giving kickbacks to the medical profession for prescribing their drug instead of someone else's drug. But where it really shows up that affects us is with website advertising like Groupon or Living Social. And it's been such a debate for so long, but states are really only now taking a stance on this. So New York has decided that it's unethical for healthcare providers to solicit clients using a third party like Groupon. Oregon has banned it with dentists and chiropractors. They haven't made a decision about it with massage therapists, but they did that in 2014, so some time ago. Some states require flat fee only to avoid this per referral fee. And I think Living Social has done that with some healthcare providers, where it's a flat fee instead of a referral fee. In Washington state, they will revoke or deny licenses for anyone providing therapeutic services where there's fee splitting or rebates. California is the first state that actually permits this to happen. And these are the stipulations for that to happen. So it pretty much just can be done for elective services or cosmetic services. You have to be able to give a consultation, and if the patient's not a candidate, you have to be able to completely refund the amount that's paid. So really think about it and investigate it before you decide to do those kinds of things. And also consider, is this in line with your practice? Is it going to affect your referrals? Is it going to influence the type of clients that you see? Is this really the group that you desire? Similar kinds of considerations with product sales. So really consider your scope of practice. Is this within your scope for you to be able to sell these products? For example, it might be that you cannot prescribe anything orally to be taken by your clients, in which case can you legally or ethically sell products that are taken orally? So perhaps you can't sell supplements. If you do choose to sell something, so these are examples of things that I sell in my practice, am I properly trained to do these things? So I teach clients to do dry brushing. And I think that a foot roller is a great thing, or any type of foot massager, to help increase the balance in a flexibility in an ankle. Makes a big difference with balance in my older adult population. So I sell these products. I feel I'm properly trained, and I feel it will not negatively affect my referrals. In fact, working with the cancer industry, so I do a lot of post-mastectomy massages, that the dry brushing really helps my referrals. So consider those things. With billing, there's lots of ethical considerations. So just briefly, I know once we get into billing, it could go on and on and on. So I'm going to be very brief with the billing. But read your contracts. Make sure that you're billing in such a way that it's legal as well as ethical. So these are all the contractual type things that we have to be aware of. Here are some of the more fine notes around charting and billing. We do not want two sets of chart notes. I know a lot of people do that. They think, well, I've got my private notes, or I'll put them on a sticky and then I just take them off. But please know that everything is discoverable. Check it out and see if tipping is possible if you're billing insurance. I think that's one of those considerations that could be dictated by your contract with the insurance company. Know that upcoding is not possible. I just did a consultation with someone who was asked to pay back over $76,000 because they billed every session using the most expensive or the highest reimbursement rate code of all of the 3 massage codes, even though their documentation did not support that modality. Make sure that you've got different rates for different services and not different rates for who pays. And that you, pardon me, really consider your timing for release from care. If somebody has reached maximum progress, then don't keep them on as billing clients, but turn them into wellness clients. So I've got just a few slides on what you can do to take care of yourselves in terms of your ethical growth. And they're all things that we talked about in the beginning. So I just want you to review them quickly. And this is my biggest support group for many, many years, the Massage Therapy Foundation Board of Trustees. And I leave you with a quote today. So I think so often we look outside ourselves for our heroes and teachers, but really consider looking inside and see the mentor in yourself. So thank you very much for your time today and your consideration to improve your ethical practices as a massage therapist.
Diana, thank you so much for walking us through a really great overall picture of ethics and charting, because there's some things that I don't think we think about. And one of them that you mentioned that really struck me was what you did not do should also be written in there. Fabulous, fabulous life work. And I look forward to continuing to follow you. And a lot of us, I really recommend, just jumping on Facebook with Diana, get onto her email list. There's always lots of information that she's sharing that's new.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again, Diana. Truly appreciate your time and sharing all of your wisdom and expertise with us today.
Great. I am so happy to be with you. Thanks for including me in the World Massage Conference.
Awesome. And before we go, I'd like to thank our sponsors. Thank you to our global sponsor, Massage Envy. As a massage therapist, you put your heart and soul into helping others feel their best. You deserve a career that nurtures you as a person, an artist, and a professional. Visit massageenvy.com/careers to find a career that cares for you. Massage Envy franchise locations are independently owned and operated and are the sole employees for all positions they hire. Thank you to our education partner, Associated Bodywork and Massage Professionals, provides an extensive array of member benefits and exceptional liability insurance. Visit abmp.com to discover why over 80,000 massage and bodywork professionals have chosen ABMP as their professional association. And thank you to our daily sponsors, Massage and Bodywork Magazine, Bon Vital, BioFreeze, and Massage Warehouse.